Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jason Avant from the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform, YouTube channel, also Amazon Music. We're back again for another episode. We're always excited to come to you guys. I've got my man here, my main man, the Q part of the Q&A show, Quintin Mikell. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing, man? It's been a great time. Excited to get going, and let's get to it, man.
Yeah, we're always excited to talk to you guys. I want to say thank you to the fans. Thank you to everyone that's responsible for making this show a success. Thank you for sending your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Again, insidethebirds@gmail.com. Thank you to Adam and Jeff and to Hunter and Josh and everyone that's responsible at Inside the Birds for making this possible. We're excited to come to you guys each and every week. And make sure that you submit your questions so they can be up next on the Q&A show. Last week, we left off the episode with an NFC East preview. We didn't get a chance to cover the Washington football team. It's so hard for me not to say Redskins. For the love of all that's good, Washington somewhere, please pick a name. So we can stop saying Washington football team. I'm tired of it. I'm completely tired of it. Thank you, guys. Do that for us, please. Help the country out. All right. So Q, last week we left off with the NFC East preview. We didn't get a chance to cover the football team of Washington. Q, I'm going to let you start out with your synopsis of their offseason transactions. What are we looking forward to from them this season?
Yeah, so they're actually the way I look at it is, looking at Ron Rivera and the way that they're trying to build this team, you can tell right now they're building on defense and they're building in the trenches. They're building with the O-line. Last year with Chase Young was a phenomenal pick, and then you double it again this year when they drafted Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, middle linebacker who's a phenomenal player. They follow that up with drafting Samuel Cosmi from. I think he's from UT, offensive tackle. And so what you're starting to see is a guy that's building his team the old-fashioned way, put it that way. He's building his team in the trenches. He's building his team with a defense. And, with those picks and a couple of, offensive weapons later on in the draft and with the addition of Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, he's been in the league for a long time. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's a guy that, in my opinion, can be the right type of quarterback in the right type of situation. He's smart. He knows everything. He's probably seen every type of defense that there is, and he's not going to lose the game for you. So I think this team is being built the right way. I don't know if they're ready yet to really contend, but I do think that in a couple of years they're going to be a problem.
Q, how are you saying that they're not going to be able to contend at 7-9? They won the division. Now, I'm not lauding 7-9 like they're some world beaters, but they did make it to the playoffs last year, and they had an upcoming defense. They played hard throughout the season. The offense was kind of their Achilles heel most of the season with the moving around of quarterbacks and of such. But I don't understand how you don't consider them a true contender in NFC East.
it's hard for me to believe in the Washington football team.
No name, no game.
I think that they're on the right track. I think that they're building, like I said, I think they're building the team the right way. But I think they took advantage. They made it to the playoffs, but I think they took advantage of just a really, really bad NFC East. And I think every other team, the Cowboys and the Giants especially, are going to be phenomenally better. And so I still think that they're not there yet. I don't think that they can really compete with the Giants and the Cowboys when they're on the up and up. When everyone's healthy, when Dak's healthy, and you got Saquon healthy. I don't think that the Redskins are. See, there I did it. The Washington football team is ready to compete on that level. Now they probably will compete with us. Because I don't think we're quite there yet as a team, but that's neither here nor there. So
neither here nor there. All right, so here's my viewpoint of this. All right, so from a couple different angles. So when you think of the offseason, you think of what the Redskins have done, or look at me, sorry, the Washington football team fans, I'm sorry.
It's gonna be on bloopers.
This is the bloopers are real. The Washington football team has done this offseason. So you get a stud, number one corner in William Jackson, right? Why is that important? You get rid of Ronald Darby going out to Denver, and you replace him with William Jackson, who's a solid man-to-man coverage guy. Now, in man-to-man, you can depend on a guy like Ryan Rivera does a lot of times. When you depend on a guy in man-to-man, it gives you more flexibility on defense because you can call some of those exotic blitzes knowing that you're going to be in phase with a receiver. So that kind of opens you up defensively to be able to call what you want. The other thing that they did was get some depth in their receiver room with the veteran Curtis Samuel, another teammate of Terry McLaurin. And I think he's a blazer gadget guy, can definitely help their team out. So you go in, you get two big splash guys. You get Curtis Samuel, you get William Jackson. Boom, boom. Right? Now, let's keep that same philosophy. You go over to the Giants, right? Kenny Galladay, Adoree Jackson. Boom, boom, bam, boom. Right? You go to the Cowboys. The Cowboys didn't have bam, bam, boom, boom, but they got solid players in Keanu Neal, DeMonte Casey. You consider Michael Parsons. You consider Kelvin Joseph. That's pretty a nice bam. It's not boom, boom, but it's nice, right? Yeah. Then you look at our team, and you get Anthony Harris, and you get Eric Wilson. Everybody shooting. And we hear that Harlem Nights, that single shot. Right? And that's what I feel. Now, the thing that saves us is the draft. The thing that saves us is draft because I think that we have the two most ready-to-play players in the first two picks in our draft. I believe that we're going to see Devontae Smith right off the bat, probably be the number one receiver right off the bat. And I think that Landon Dickerson, when they insert him into the offensive line at some point this season, is never going to come out, barring injury. Yep. So I think that to be true, and I think that the Eagles did a great job when it came to the draft. But when you look at the overall free agency throughout the division, I thought that the Redskins improved significantly with their free agency. They got better in the draft, like you mentioned, and they are the division champs. So you got to respect them as such. So I think that the Redskins are going to be in that fight for the division title. Like, I really do. Now, are they as good as the Cowboys? Everyone says the Cowboys are going to win 11, 12 games every year.
Yeah, true.
When does it happen? It doesn't happen that often. Now, Dak is coming back, and he has some great weapons. You got, a healthy Zeke back. You always had Amari. You have, CeeDee Lamb, and you have Gallup. A bunch of
it's a Gallup and
you got a bunch of guys that are world beaters and they're very good players, but their defense is still a little bit shaky. They get beat over the top a bunch, and it's very, very hard to adapt that. Now you may get Van Der Esch back, and you may get some other guys back. So that bodes well for the Cowboys, and I think that they're at the top of the division. I think that the Giants and the Redskins are neck to neck right there with each other. I think that Joe Judge has done a great job, getting his team to believe again. And you consider the moves that they made this offseason, they only bolstered their offense, knowing that they were a top 10 defense. So I think that's going to help Daniel Jones out a bunch. So I see the Redskins and the Cowboys as the division leaders, but I definitely see the Redskins. Sorry, stop saying the Redskins. So I think that the Cowboys and the Giants are definitely in the driver's seat for the division, but I definitely think that the Washington football team can alter that pretty significantly because of their defense. And because of what they are bringing back on defense and what they brought into their team on defense. What's the best way to stop a Dak Prescott? What's the best way to stop a Jalen Hurts? What's the best way to stop a Daniel Jones? Is getting after the quarterback. And they got the best one in our division. I know DeMarcus Lawrence has been the one that most people talk about for a long time, has been talking about for a long time because he shows talent. and he gets to the quarterback, but generational player and talent, Chase Young. And the most effective player on defense, defensive end. So I think that you can never count that team out. Now I think that we, as it stands today, listen to me, Eagles fans, as it stands today, we're bringing in the rear. When it comes to transactions, when it comes to everything that's happened this offseason, new head coach, front office discord, schisms in the body, so many things that we can point to. It's looking like that we are in a position to be third or fourth in our division. That's hard for me to say as an Eagles guy, but that's what it's looking like. Not saying that we can't overcome. I'm going to be rooting for us to overcome. But based on the transactions of the offseason, based on what every team has done, based on the trajectory of the programs, based on our salary cap and who we were able to get this offseason, based on our aging veterans, based on a lot of things, of missed draft picks over and over and over and over again, based on a lot of these things, we're in last place, and we're sitting in last place because of decisions that we made from upstairs. And I think that it's going to take a gigantic effort, a otherworldly response from Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff in order to finish at the top of the division. If he can somehow will this team, coach this team, make this team believe to get to a division title with this roster, with the turmoil that's that we've seen this offseason, they're going to be anointing this guy as the next, Andy Reid or the next Bill Belichick. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I hear you. And I'm hanging with you on everything you said there. The only thing that I'm looking at the situation, and if we're going to go look at last year, okay, yes, the Redskins, the Washington football team did win. Please, they got to change their name soon. Yes, the Washington football team did win the division last year, but they didn't run away with it, right?
No.
And barring whatever happened in the second half of that Eagles-Washington football team game last year, we're not going to rehash that, but I feel the Eagles win that game. So we're not even looking at them as division champions from last year. So I don't even count that. So in my opinion, yes, they were the division champs, but I still am not sold on them. I just don't think that they're ready yet. And I do think that you're right. You're absolutely right. Defense does have a way of fixing a lot of holes and filling a lot of holes and fixing a lot of issues. But I mean, when you look at like you said, you look at the additions that, the Giants had and the Cowboys had, especially offensive wise, it's going to be a tough go. It's going to be a tough go for everybody. So I honestly, I think it's more up in the air than you may think. I don't necessarily think that the Eagles are. I think first of all, I think that anything can happen, but I don't think that we're going to be division champs. I don't think that we're going to be at the bottom of the division either. I think that a couple things swing the right way. We might maybe second or third in that area. And maybe it's wishful thinking, but I just kind of feel, I don't know, there's something I feel right now that's kind of changing the tide in this program. And I don't know, maybe it's just optimism, stupid optimism, but I just have a feeling that something good is going to happen.
Is it it's getting close to kickoff? It's getting close to the season, and then our optimism finally just starts to just shoot through the roof like every other fan in Philadelphia. We begin to think of Jalen Hurts as Tom Brady. We begin to think of Miles Sanders as Barry Sanders. We begin to think of Greg Ward and the receiving core as Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. We're like, man, we got the best one in the league. We start to become fans, and we become like delusional at times and forget about everything that's occurred because of our heart, and it can deceive us really fast. And before you know it, we lost all of our house and our money in Vegas.
I'm gonna roll 7 this time.
Yeah, exactly. We in there like crackhead. Come on, Barry. Come on. So I want to be like that, and that's how I'll be throughout the week. I'll be just like everyone else, but when I put my mind to it and I begin to think about everything, this team is behind the 8 ball. Will they do it? I really hope so. Can they do it with, like I said, otherworldly efforts from Sirianni, otherworldly efforts from Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, in order for this team to finish first in division, Jalen Hurts got to be a top 12 quarterback.
Yes, agreed.
Top 10, top 12 quarterback. And for that to occur this year, great. It's going to be great coaching. All right, let's talk about a few things. Q, we go to our next topic. There's joint practices that are happening again this year for the Eagles. We've seen this multiple times. The Eagles have had joint practices with the Ravens because close proximity, opposite division. Usually it goes like that. They've had joint practices with the Patriots multiple times. This year we get the Jets and we get the Patriots. Both teams we play, I believe, in the preseason. They come up and they scrimmage. For the people that don't know what the joint practices are about, usually they come up that week of practice. We don't do many live scrimmages, but we may have live periods. Yeah. And 7-on-7. Get your chance, get your guys a chance to see an opponent, because around that third or fourth weekend of training camp, everyone's tired of seeing each other, tired of going against the same guys. So to get some new blood in there, it kind of helps it. But what's your thoughts when it comes to these joint practices and competitive periods with the opposing teams?
In short, I hated them.
Oh, hated them. That's very, very harsh language.
I hated them because I mean, as a defensive player, man, if I see someone that's not my teammate and we in the competition, I'm gonna try to hurt you, right? So like. And it's the same way the other way around. And so for me personally, I never liked it because it's a situation where like it feels like a game competition wise, but then it's not really a game. And then, when let's say you're doing one-on-ones, right? I'm doing one-on-ones and I have to go against somebody like Steve Smith, right? And he gets a good one on me in one-on-ones. He gonna let you know, and everybody in the stands know what happened, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's a situation where like in a lot of fights, and let's say a lot of fights happen just in regular teams. So I'm not saying that just because you're going against another team in practice that there's not fights, but I just personally never liked it because for me it was hard to turn that switch off. Where to me, if I see a person from another team, for me, I'm thinking every time I see you, it's time to go. And I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. And so for me, it's practice, but it's really game mode for me. So I never liked it because, I just rather just practice with my teammates, man. I don't know. I say that mentality for when we step on the field on Sundays. I guess that was my thing.
So there's good and bad to it. A lot of coaches think the good is that you're getting, used to seeing, NFL defenses, the way that other teams do things, the way they run practice, the way some of their team, practices and all those things. But like Q said, for me, it's very, very hard to cut off that switch because you don't want to create the friendship dynamic in football like it is in basketball, where there's a bunch of guys that are friends in the off season, they're going to Vegas, they're on banana boats and so forth. And when you get two teams together that are opposing the National Football League and they're telling you to stay off guys, and they're telling you not to hit them and to let them go on, you become like soft to your natural nature that you've created for yourself, and you're being more of a teammate to an opposing team. Yeah. And you're becoming teammates with this guy and you're becoming friendly. So it's definitely hard to to delineate, but Q, I understand it. And from that perspective, it's hard. But for me, I never liked giving guys more time to study my moves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the part I didn't like about it, right? So the guys were, oh, let me go against Avant. I kill him. Oh, let me go against him again. And before you know it, we do one-on-ones 2, 3 times, 4 times together. He's got a good sense of, okay, he likes to do this and this. Now I have change-ups that I haven't shown the guy, but I don't want to even give him that much information that I have to go to number 3 and 4. I want to do number 1 the entire game. And if I see you once a year or once every 4 years, by the time I get to 2, it doesn't matter, you know. So it preserves my moves and it gives me ability to get open. But if I see this guy in practice, the guys that I broke in team on my team, they were my best defenders when they moved to the other teams. Jose Lil Hansen, Brandon Boykins, guys like that I basically broke into the NFL by running good routes on them and embarrassing them. They just got good over time because they seen all my moves. And before you know it, it was very hard for me to get open on them. And I don't want to create that dynamic with another team. So that was my thought process with competitive team drills. I understand why it is. You get a fresh new team out there. Your team gets to hit someone else. You can probably get a beat on their offensive staff as a coaching staff, steal some stuff. I understand all those things, but from a player's perspective, you're telling your hand. And those teams use that tape. If it comes up and they end up playing each other some kind of way, they use all of that tape. They use it all. Like last year, when we played the Ravens, the only thing that we saw that whole week was our practice against the Ravens that entire week of competitive team drills when we had the joint practices. That's what we watched more so than their games.
That's crazy.
You know, so I don't understand it. I don't understand if you're going to use it as an advantage to you or you think that they're not going to use it as a disadvantage. Like I don't understand.
And we're talking about, you said the Patriots?
The Patriots. Yes.
Yeah, you said
the team
Patriots?
that's notorious for cheating. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they mess around and mic your meeting rooms up. Hitting mics in there. And you're like, man, what happened? What? All your information.
That's real. But do have them come and do a bug sweep.
all of that. Yeah, it's crazy. We used to have to get all of our papers. We had people paranoid coming behind our rooms. We played the Patriots in Foxborough. You had to keep people that would come after us in order to check our trash cans and everything, make sure we didn't leave any papers or anything of that nature behind because they were afraid of the Patriots stealing stuff.
No playbooks. They made sure you got it.
I guess that was part of the psychological trick or game. I guess I don't know. All right, Q, that was some very interesting news. Next topic, there's some very interesting news coming out of Indianapolis. The ESPN had a top 10 quarterback list. Of that top 10 quarterbacks, the names of, Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, on and on and on. And 2 names that were left out of there, Ryan Tannehill, but they gave honorable mention to a quarterback that we know very, very well.
Yeah.
And his name is Carson Wentz. And a lot of people were up in arms because Carson Wentz played terrible last year. Let's just be honest. He played bad last year. A lot of it had to do with offensive line, guys hurt, a bunch of things. It's not all on Carson. Bad coaching, a bunch of things. But he played bad himself. But he was still honorable mention. And the article that we read talked about Mike Brady and talked about how the atmosphere in Indianapolis with Chris Ballard and Frank Wright and all the coaching staff is so solid and stable that it's a great environment for Carson Wentz to take the next step. Also, the offensive line is very, very good, and they like to feature the running back and Jonathan Taylor. So what do you think with Carson Wentz being honorable mention of top 10? And do you think he's going to thrive? Do you think he's going to have like a breakout season? This is all being refreshed into our memories, into our back on the front page because of this ESPN article. What do you think about it?
Yeah. So, when I hear and everything that you just laid out, I really start to wonder, how do these people come up with these rankings and such, because obviously it's not from looking at the tape. And everything that you said and everything that was in that article had nothing to do with what actually transpired on the football field. It all, in my opinion, is based on potential. He could potentially be in a good situation. He could potentially have a quarterback coach or an offensive coordinator and GM that will build the team the right way. He could possibly have a O-line that will block perfectly for him. So like all of these things, and I know you can't really look into the future, and these are all projections and all that stuff, but I'm looking at like, what have you seen besides the 1 year that Carson had where he was lights out, where you could say he's one of the top 11, 12 quarterbacks in the league? Besides that 1 year, which was the year he got injured. And I hate because I love Carson. I think he's a great person. But when you just look at strictly what happens on the field and what he did on the field, I just don't see how he gets a pass right there. Now, I do agree. I think he's going to play much better. I do think he's going to have a good season. I don't know if it's going to be enough to be, in that top 11, 12 range. I mean, I think that's just I don't
asking a lot.
It's asking a lot, and I just wish that the same, type of rankings were given out. Like if you look at, and I know this was Chris, we talked about it on our show before with Chris. I forget his name now. I'm blanking.
Sims.
Chris Sims. If you take that same logic and then you place that same logic and you use it with Hurts, then he should have been way higher he should have been ranked in the top 40. So I don't know. I just feel like people kind of pick and choose what they want to do. And I think that they're looking at Carson and they're rooting for him, which is a good thing. And then that's fine. But just say that in the article. Don't just say the article like hey, this is, everyone around the league is looking and we're in the know and we know this and we know that. And we think he's going to just say, you know what, this is an opinion piece. And I think that he's going to be in a better situation. He's going to play good.
Well, there's a lot. Yeah, in that article is a lot of execs, and now forgive me for cutting you off. It's supposed to be a lot of football people that knew that, and but again, football people are what have you done for me lately, people, right? And we talked about this before the show. Just because Justin Herbert had a good season last year, he's in the top 10 with 1 year.
Right.
Dang, it's like forget about Matt Ryan being Matty Ice and carrying his team to multiple playoffs. Like this dude had a good season and didn't make the playoffs. Like when do we start to say, okay, the quarterback ranking should be based on translating to wins too?
Right.
Right. So how is Matthew Stafford 6 on the list, 5, 6 on the list, and this dude never makes the playoffs? Like how does that work? I don't, and I get frustrated when my voice goes higher. Like how does it work? Like that's how it's irritating to me. Because the top 10 quarterbacks should be guys who not only have the measurables, have the numbers and the stats, but it translates into being a perennial playoff team. Big Ben is a perennial playoff guy. Like when Big Ben is healthy, their team makes the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
So how is he not in there? I don't understand how Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl every other year and still is not number one.
That blows my mind.
I don't understand. These are some things that make you go, in these lists, right? So, and then you have Kyler Murray, didn't make the playoffs. You got, you have all of these guys that are, and then you got guys like Ryan Tannehill who makes the playoffs pretty consistently, and it's not on the list. So when you begin to think about these things, you begin to understand the NFL is a what have you done for me lately type of league. And if that's the standard, Carson Wentz should be nowhere near the top 15, 20 quarterbacks. Right. So what is it that's creating this? Because based on the guys that are on the list, he shouldn't be that close. But if you're saying to me that he may rebound because of the coaching staff and because he has a solid offensive line and a good run game, so we're going to project him as being honorable mention, that has nothing to do with the quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know. So that's just all projections at that point. So it's very, very hard for me to understand these lists. And I know that Jalen Hurts one day soon, hopefully at the end of this year, with him pulling off that otherworldly experience with his play and taking his team to the playoffs from nothing almost, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. No
That would
doubt,
be
man.
awesome. Yeah. So
So
that was, they kind of lauded, Mike Brady coming from, Canada to being assistant quarterbacks coach to being the quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. Very, very quick rise in the NFL, and how he has the ability to relate to players and all those things, and how he's going to help transform Carson Wentz and adapt the offense to them. And that gave me kind of deja vu of the Eagles saying things of that nature, and also what happened with the organization. Do you think that we screw Carson, and this is the opportunity, like Tom Brady had last year, to say, you know what, it wasn't Bill Belichick, it was me this entire time? That's what Tom showed us last year. Do you think Carson has that type of year this year that says, you know what, this was not me, this was Howie, this was Doug, this was lack of talent around me, and he comes in and balls? Do you think he has that Tom Brady style year this year? That would be crazy. And the city of Philadelphia would literally implode if Carson goes out and literally solidifies himself as a top 10 quarterback this year with an amazing year, 2017-esque year. Man, this city will roll over.
yeah, I mean, I think it's very, it's very possible, and I say that because I feel like this team, this Colts team is ready. I mean, they built a very nice team. The offensive line is phenomenal. Running games phenomenal. Running backs are phenomenal.
Defense solid.
Defense is solid, and so it could be very well a potential. Hey, I told you guys. And that's and here's the thing with Carson. I think that's what he needs. Like, he needs a complete team. He's not a guy that put it on his shoulders. Put it on your shoulders. At least not at this point in his career, and definitely not in the city of Philadelphia, where he can just put the team on his back and just take the team to where they need to be. And maybe one day he'll eventually be that player. I certainly hope that he will be that player eventually. But I think that there's so much craziness that happened around his career here with the Eagles that it just was never going to happen here. And so I think right now the situation he's going into is a perfect situation for him. He can come in and play the way he wants to play, hand the ball off if he needs to hand the ball off, not necessarily have to shoulder everything, and have success and really rebuild his career in the way that is perfect for him. And so eventually I can see maybe 3 or 4 years down the road that he's able to carry a team. But, let's say he came in and he's starting the next year, right? So he never really got a chance to really have a team that is built the way that I would say the way that he can play the game, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that this Colts team is it's really weird. It's like almost like this team is really built around him as a player and his style as a player. So I think he's definitely going to have a lot of success. And it's
if he has success, the city's going to be up in arms.
Going to burn down, man. I know.
It'll be up in arms because we've seen, what happened with DK Metcalf and JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and how they're
the only difference.
We've seen Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor. Like, so if Carson goes out in balls and he was here, and then now you compare that to if Jalen Hurts does okay or not as well. Oh my goodness, the city's it's the same thing.
But the difference is, though, that we already saw Carson here, right? He didn't have the weapons that he would have with the Colts for as long as he's possibly going to have. But we did see, and we said it, I mean, last year was just not a good year for him.
Yeah.
Right. So we already know the cat's out of the bag there. Now, if they could have built a better team around them, obviously we've all said that.
We will see.
But We'll see now. Like, he's gonna have to prove it now. He's got, if he's not successful now with the Colts, then
He's out of the league.
we'll know. Yeah,
If he's not successful with the Colts, he's never going to be considered for a starting cornerback ever again.
absolutely.
And that's how the NFL works, right? So you have 2 opportunities to become a starter and keep your job, and you don't take advantage of it, they'll always deem you as a backup and always try to replace you.
Yep.
No matter what Ryan Fitzpatrick does, he's always going to be deemed as like a backup type of, Band-Aid type of quarterback.
Yeah.
Never viewed as a starter, even though he can ball at times. And I disagree with you vehemently earlier today. I got to tell you, I disagree with you when it came to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a game manager. He either will win the game for you or he's going to lose it for you big. That's how he's always been. He is the big bearded gunslinger with no remorse. He's Brett Favre without the Favre. Like he is, just doesn't care about anything else but throwing the football and taking chances. And that's why he's always playing himself into a starting job and then playing himself out of it, because he is not cautious with the football at times.
Oh, absolutely not.
But when he's hot, he's
on
hot.
fire. Yes.
Yeah. The Eagles know that. All right, Q, let's get to the Q&A portion of the show, the questions that the fans have. Let's get into that. I'm going to let you start us off today.
All right. So this one's from Frederick B. He's asking, okay, he said, how much did Mike Vick still have left when the Eagles brought him back into the league in comparison to when Atlanta drafted him?
Have I ever told you guys the story about Michael Vick from my perspective? And I'm going to give you guys some inside detail here. This is like some stuff here. Okay, I'm gonna show you, and I'm going to tell you what happened. All right. So, and I'm going to try to tell you this as quick as I could. Michael Vick didn't understand the game of football from a scheme standpoint, coverage recognition, calling out the mic, defensive fronts, things of that nature when he came to the Eagles, because he had a defensive coach there, and I believe it was Mora, that would tell him, okay, if there's a blitz, you slide the line toward the blitz. Anybody else, you kind of make a miss. And I said that on this show before, and Mike would tell you that he had to make certain people miss as a part of blitz pickup, which should never be for a quarterback in the National Football League. You're basically saying you're more athletic than everybody else, so figure it out and use your athleticism, which is not like the right approach, right? So he never got taught the game the right way, but he was an outstanding athlete, an outstanding player naturally, which made him a household name and a transcendent player. One of the all-time greats, especially when it came to impact on the game of football. And that's what I judge all-time greats by. Michael Vick was a transcendent, impact, creative player. He has his own cornerstone in history as being a game changer. The game changed after him to the elusive running quarterback that can do things more than just throw. Other guys like that, you're going to see Randy Moss, who jumped up over people's head, changes defenses. Lawrence Taylor coming off the edge so fast, changes everything. Players like that, Marshall Faulk, who can catch it in and out of the backfield. And like those guys are just different. And they were the first of their kind. And Michael Vick was definitely that. When Mike came to the Eagles, Mike didn't know a bunch. Coach Reed coached him up unbelievably as a backup to Don. Don didn't like it too much, but Mike came in, played his role, humbled himself, learned as much as he could, learned defenses, learned a bunch, was able to get us in and out of coverages and things of that nature, out of plays based on coverage. Mike comes in, Kevin Cobb is anointed the starter with not much playing time. Mike comes in and takes it over because he was just playing his element. We had a center named Jamal Jackson. Jamal Jackson helped Mike out because Mike didn't learn all of this stuff in Atlanta. So we help him with calling out the mic. The mic is the most important thing to call out with the offensive line because it designates who needs to be blocked. And if the count is off, the starting point is off, somebody's going to come free. So Michael Vick and Jamal Jackson was working together to identify blitz pickup and calling out the mic. He has a great season doing it that way. He has a great season. Remember, Mike didn't know all of this in Atlanta. Has a great season teaming up with Jamal Jackson. The next year, they want to get rid of Jamal Jackson and bring in Jason Kelce. Why? Because they brought in a guy named Howard Mudd. Howard Mudd came from Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning did everything. He didn't need coaches. Peyton Manning didn't have athleticism, didn't have that under his tool belt to be able to rely on like Michael Vick. Peyton Manning just had bad athleticism and a great mind. That the reason he had a great mind because he was a bad athlete, right? So I want you guys to think about that. It wasn't black or white. It had to do with his mind was great because that's the only way he can be able to play the game at this level because his athleticism was not good. So Peyton Manning was able to call out the mic, recognize defenses, learn the game the right way rather than Beamer ball, Mora, and then finally starting to learn some things when it came to Coach Reed. So Howard Mudd stirred up dissension. God rest his soul. He, passed on. But Howard Mudd stirred up dissension among the offensive line and became to create this narrative that Michael Vick didn't know enough about football at this point in this time. So now the offensive line is going around thinking that Michael Vick is dumb and all of these different things, which was created by Howard Mudd because he had Peyton Manning and they wanted Kelce to play rather than having Jamal, the veteran, that was there working with Mike as they progressed. Right. And we were doing really well when Mike and Jamal were together and we lost to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers going to win the Super Bowl, but we were right there heading in an upward trajectory with Mike learning on this path, which it would have taken him another couple of years to get to that place to be able to do everything on his own. No, but we hire Howard Mudd. Howard Mudd wants to expedite the situation and make Michael Vick, Peyton Manning too fast. So he creates this dissension in the locker room amongst the players about Michael Vick. Michael Vick and Kelce are getting into it, arguing on the sidelines, different things of that nature. Wow. And Michael Vick ended up losing, good graces, because of all the things that transpired. And Nick Foles comes in, plays, the team ended up, having a terrible season, get fired. Nick Foles comes in, plays really well on the chip, never gets his opportunity. But Michael Vick could have been one of the most solid all-time greats if they would have just kept the system that Coach Reed had. And Coach Reed, one of the things that Coach Reed probably regretted is hiring Howard Mudd. God rest his soul, not a bad guy at all, just not the best fit for that team with Michael Vick learning out on his new journey how to play the game of quarterback. And I think that Howard Mudd totally obliterated that. So I want to give you guys just a deeper insight when it comes to those things.
Wow. That's deep.
Isn't that deep?
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to, kind of give the fans like a higher level insight. And Michael Vick, to this day, we never got a chance to see all that Michael Vick could have been with his progression with Coach Reed, with another 2 or 3 years with Coach Reed, progressing the way that Coach Reed had him progressing with the right system. One hire offensively when it comes to coaching, and those things, man, can utterly change a quarterback's or a player's career. And that's why I never leave it out that Carson could revitalize his career, because you never know if it was a situation like that could have threw his career off kilter. So I always keep that in the back of my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep. No, that I never knew that. So I wasn't on a team when it happened. I remember, my last year was, right around the time, Vick's first year starting full season. And I mean, the stuff I saw in practice,
yeah.
phenomenal. When I tell people ask me all the time about Vick and how good he was, and I couldn't even really explain in the words. I mean, like he would draw back and he'd just go like this, and the ball would just fly off his hand, like
The dude
so
was
effortless. He could make every
the
throw.
dude was accurate. Go ahead, do your thing.
Oh, yeah, no, accurate. Could run as fast. He was intelligent. He was a great teammate. And I've said it to multiple people. I was glad to be on the team with them, just to get to know him and to be able, like you said, he's got his own part of NFL history, really of all football history. And so I'm actually proud to have been a teammate of his, because I mean the guy was just phenomenal, on and off the field.
And the most humble quarterback till this day.
Yeah.
One of the most humble quarterbacks because of everything that he went through that you ever come across. And that's why everybody on the team loved playing with him. And when that team brought in all those new faces and all those new coaches, that was just the beginning of the end. And I think Coach Reed learned so much from that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if he came into the league now with all these spread offenses,
yeah, the movement and the way they're doing that, it'd be cancel Christmas. Because the thing is that Lamar Jackson, what we see is great, but Mike can throw.
Yes.
I'm not saying Lamar can't throw like Michael Vick. Just cannot. If Mike understood the defense, understood what he was seeing, it was going to be a completion 100% of the time. The only time he ever when he got tricked, right? Because there were things that he like he learned the game the wrong way. So trying to correct that after 10, 12, 15 years of playing football is very, very hard. So in this new age, Michael Vick, oh my goodness, learning it the way that they're doing it now, with scan reads, left to right reads, right to left reads. Not much. Man, are you kidding me right now? Stop it right now. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Let's get to that next question, Q.
All right, here we go.
I'll do this one for you. This is a tough question, man. All right, my question is 4th and goal enough time for one more play? Q is lined up on Jason. You both got that dog and you both got the football IQ. Which one of you guys is making the play? Woo, that's tough. It all depends on. That's a tough question. First of all, I'm gonna say me.
Of course, and I'm gonna say me.
And Q gonna say me, right? So I think it all depends on what play it is, because this is a scenario that if it's me and Q away from the football, I'm gonna say I'm gonna have the better opportunity. But if it's me and him in a box and I have to get him, like, because we're on the goal line, that can mean anything. That can mean you're filling a hole. That can mean I'm stuck. I'm attached. Like, 'cause there's times where I'm attached and there's a guy like right next to me. There's, and my space is cut down and all those things. Like, anything can happen in that moment. But I think if I get you away from that line of scrimmage, you're done. If I get you extended.
I was gonna say the same thing. So if we are like, you talking goal line. So when I first read that, I'm saying, okay, he's saying goal line. Like,
yeah, he's like I got a bow up against you, right? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too. Hold on now.
That means here's the guard, here's the center. The hole opens up. It's me and you. We looking at each other. We going full speed. Wow.
You gonna win that. You gonna win that. You gonna win that. You gonna win that. It's gonna be a tough one though. It's gonna be easy. Because I may cut you. Because I may catch you. You never know when you catch your fade.
It's all or nothing at that point. But yeah, I agree. If we flexed out, it's gonna be a rough one for me, because I don't spend a whole lot of time one-on-one outside. So yeah, I would concede that.
Yeah, so it all depends. And you know what's so funny is that there's plays where literally I'm the ISO lead blocker. Coach, I'm like, Coach, what are you doing, man? He's like, dude, it's going to be safety. Sure enough, it's the will linebacker. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why am I like lined up one-on-one in an ISO situation with a dude that weighs 250 pounds? Like,
they set you up, man.
as long as if I had a slow death right there, I won. Right. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that you get a stalemate initially and then he overpowers you. Like it's a slow death. You don't just let him just take you out completely where it's like, boom. No, you hit him. You hold it there for a second and then you like kind of backpedal it. A slow death is a win for a receiver versus linebacker. So you just got to die slow. You can't die fast.
That's funny. That's like a moral victory. That's like a moral victory.
That's a moral victory. And it's like offensive lineman. You can be getting killed in the offensive line. The dude's beating you off the ball, but the dude never can disengage and make the play. Even though you dying slow, he can't make the play. So you're like, man, I just blocked him. Who cares? I got pushed back a yard. I don't care.
That's funny, man. That's a good question. I like that one.
Yeah. All right, so this is a good question too. Q, you want to take this one, or you want me to read it out?
I got it. Okay. So this is let's see. This is from Jesse W. Why don't more teams have their number one corner follow the number two wideout, and then bracket the number one wideout? For instance, last year the Eagles kept Slay on an island, and he got worked by guys like DK and Devontae. So wouldn't that type of coverage make more sense?
All right, I'm gonna let you answer this. I'm gonna give my synopsis, and I want you guys to think outside of your brain or your normal capacity. The reason I tell you this because you got to remember that the NFL, the greatest minds that's in this game, NFL. So number one guys are not traditional anymore. Meaning, I can always know where Marvin Harrison is going to line up. He's going to line up to the right. And he's going to line up outside the numbers. I always know where Reggie Wayne's going to line up. He's going to line up to the left. And he's going to line up outside the numbers. I can devise a scheme against that. In this day and age, if I put my number one corner on number two, what happens when they put the number one corner at third inside in the alignment? Where he's not where I'm expecting him to be at number one out there, but he's literally the third receiver, even though it's Devontae Adams or even though it's Odell Beckham Jr. And you're trying to just bracket over the top. Now you got the safety saying, okay, he's in a tight end alignment. There's the number two guy on him. And what if he goes across the field? Our responsibility switches, this guy running in and out. It just creates so many defensive switches and communication. You have to be on your game if you're going to try to bracket a guy from a slot position and he's normally at number one or he's coming out of the backfield or things like that. So it's very, very hard to call your defense. It's a lot easier for the number one corner to just go and shadow number one and they can play their regular defense and eliminate most of the communication problems on the back end, because you got to remember they're trying to get number one the football. So they may get him the football from the number three position, from the number two position, from out of the backfield, from under center. And you don't want to try to allocate a safety toward that. Now you have a guy running free down the field somewhere because this guy crossed the field and okay, number one safety is going with them. No, it's like it doesn't work like that. It's easier for the number one corner to go and match number one so you can play your normal defense.
Yeah. And so and basically what Jason just said is in the NFL, they study a lot of tape and they study a lot of tendencies, right? And so you can probably get away with that and, putting your number two guy on one and you can probably get away with it maybe once or twice a game, but they're going to figure it out quickly. And when they do, they're going to start playing with your alignments. And so a lot of times it's just much, and Jason, like what Jason's saying is it's just much easier to just play your normal ball and then let your number one guy shadow number one, because it kind of, when you start to do certain things, it starts to bastardize the defense. It starts to make you out to be playing a defense that is not a real defense. Now you're just out there just kind of guessing on plays. So as for instance, as Jason said, like if you have a bracket on, let's say you're trying to bracket number one, and like Jason said, let's say he lines up in the backfield, which teams will do sometimes. They'll put Devontae in the backfield and motion him out. Well, now you got one, strong safety on one side, and you got another safety, and then now does he flip? Does he go to the other side? So it creates a situation where now you're starting to get manipulated by the offense. And that's one of the worst things that a defensive coordinator wants to feel, is that he's just getting messed with up here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times default is like, we're just gonna man up and we're gonna play. Slay gets paid a lot of money. He's got to go take care of his business. Everybody else, you got to take care of your business. And so I do agree, situationally that can work, but it's not something you want to do for an entire game.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Q said that perfectly. You don't want these bastardized defenses that you don't know what it is, and the team is knowing, okay, if I send Devontae Adams left out of the backfield, it's automatically going to trigger this coverage because they're trying to bracket him, and therefore I messed around and I have a speedy receiver on a linebacker going 40 yards down the field. It's so many different scenarios. So you would rather have a sound defense where your best player on their best player and live with the results, rather than having a defense where you don't really know, or someone's running scot-free. Because the quickest way that you get fired as a player and as a defense coordinator is for giving up free touchdowns, people running scot-free. And that's what happens when you're playing stuff that's very, very hard to teach and train over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just gave me like I'm thinking about, okay, if I'm Cardinals head coach and all I think right now is you're trying to double B hop, and then somehow, was that dude Andy Isabella?
Yeah, whoever it is,
lined up on a linebacker somewhere, and he just runs a streak down the field.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Like,
you don't want that.
Trying to double him.
So it can work sometimes. I wouldn't do it for an entire game.
Yeah, not for an entire game. Okay. All right, so here you go. Do you, Chris B, do you guys think that a type of city matters for certain players to reach their potential? For example, Marshawn Lynch in Buffalo was okay, but didn't explode till he went to the West Coast. Or like Big Ben just fits Pittsburgh. I ask because I think Jalen Hurts is the perfect fit for Philly because how he is and what he's been through. And additional question: what's your favorite R&B group? Randomness, but
that's random.
I like the random. But what do you think? Do you think that a certain city kind of fits the player, and players thrive better in certain cities and others they can't?
Yeah, I think so. It was funny. I was on social media the other day, and I forget what the post was, but it had something to do with it was one of the Sixers players. And he was kind of talking about how he was upset that it was Danny Green, and he was talking about how he didn't like how Philly fans booing him, and you got to always support the team. And one of the comments someone said is they said we got to start giving psych evaluations to players when they come into Philly, and I'm like, that's 100. Like not everybody can play in certain cities, right?
That's true.
And not everybody can play in a city in Philly. But like me personally, I don't think that I could play in a city like LA. I don't think I could go play for the Rams. So I think there's a certain part of that's true. You're kind of molded by your environments, and if you're not used to a certain area, if your mentality isn't used to a certain thing, it can become a problem. But I don't think it's something to the point of affecting you as a player to the point where you're not gonna do your job.
Yeah.
But if you're able to block, so that's part of it. Like as an athlete, as really is any professional athlete, any professional person in the spotlight, anything, you have to be able to go like this. You have to be able to, at some point, put the blinders on. You have to be able to get off social media. You have to be able to not read the newspapers. That's really the bigger thing. If you're able to do that, you can be successful anywhere. And a lot of times, sometimes when you're reading the papers all the time and you're reading the good comments about you, it can go the opposite way. right? You can start getting a big head and think that you don't need to do stuff. So I think the bigger thing is if you're strong enough mentally, no matter where you're at, and you're able to block out and just focus on what you have to do as your job and focus on what matters to you the most and what your dreams are and your goals, then you can make it anywhere. So I think that's a bigger issue.
Yeah. I like the way you spent that now. I definitely think a city can. I think the player's mentality is the most important part. And I think that a tough-minded player can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Because if it's not as much pressure, it doesn't matter because he's already his mindset is his mindset. You're not changing it.
Right.
But I think that, like, for an example, Rodney Harrison in San Diego. San Diego is relaxed. They didn't stop Rodney Harrison from knocking people's brains out. Right. Junior Seau, it didn't stop them because it was California and some hippies running around every now and again smoking a little weed. It didn't stop them from knocking somebody's block off. No, it's like surfs up, bam, hits you still. It don't matter. Yeah. So I think that the mentality of the player is the mentality of the player. Now, I think more fragile players can't play certain places, but they can survive in others. So let's say Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar doesn't do well here, but he does well in Las Vegas. Or Markelle Fultz, has a little brief revival in Orlando because those are smaller markets and certain, it's not much pressure on them. That's the way that they thrive. Like I said, the weaker personality type trait can't play in Philadelphia, but they may be able to play in a smaller market. But the tough mind can play anywhere, and that's what we want.
One thing I noticed, a lot of offensive players.
Oh,
just saying, just throwing it out there. A lot of offensive players. I don't know. I mean, we had a guy.
I think it works in every place though, right? So there's some guy. Well, go ahead.
No. You good.
You have a guy where?
No, I was just thinking because I think a perfect example, at least for me early on, where I kind of saw this kind of affect a person was Billy Mcmullen. I don't know if you remember him. He was.
Yeah, no, I remember Billy.
I think Billy was drafted. I think he was the same year I was drafted. If you look at Billy when he came out, I mean, he was like 6'4", physical specimen, fast, whatever. He had good hands, but he had a couple drops early in his career, and then he started getting the boo birds, and I think I could really see it start to weigh on him, and it really affected his career, and I say that, and really it's tough on offensive players, and I said that jokingly just now about the offensive guys, but it really is tough, especially in a city like Philly, because defensively you make a couple mistakes, you miss a tackle here and there. It's not always seen as the deciding factor in a possible loss, or if you drop a touchdown pass,
you're the worst.
Exactly, and so it's very hard for offensive players, especially in a city like this. So I agree with you 100%. You have to be tough-minded, and if you're not expecting it, if you're not ready for it, and nothing's gonna get you ready for it until playing in that stadium, you know what I mean? So
yeah, but I think that we need tough coaching again, and tough mind and training for it. Coaches would spend a lot of time in developing the characteristics that they want when it came to players, stories, examples, the way they practice, what they did when they came to training and nutrition. It was all about building a warrior or building a ranger, a SEAL, right?
Yeah.
It was building that mentality. And I just don't think that that's the way anymore. So that's neither here nor there, but that's my thought there. All right, last question of the day, Q. What's your favorite R&B group? What's your favorite R&B group?
Oh my God, I haven't even thought about something like that in a while. R&B group?
Yeah, so
Do they
I
even
don't know.
have groups anymore? Like, I don't even
I
know.
don't know. I guess you're talking about old school. Either you can go old and Temptations and
I ain't gonna go that old.
Earth, Wind and Fire. You can go Jodeci or Jagged Edge or I don't know.
Let's go with the. I'll go with Jagged Edge, man. I can't think. I can't think.
Be the one you tell.
I can tell you like one of my favorite R&B artists. Like I like Neo. I like
Yeah,
Trey Songz. I like their music, but
yeah.
group, I'm gonna just have to say Jagged Edge. What about you?
I'm a 90s R&B guy. So old school is going to be like New Edition,
Okay.
kind of not new school, but that 90s R&B flavor.
The hip hop swing, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
No, New Jack Swing. My
New
bad.
Jack
New Jack
Swing.
Swing.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with
Nye.
Guy was nice
I
for
like
a
Guy.
few
Teddy Riley.
songs. For a few songs, that guy was nice. After 7 was nice with
Oh
Babyface.
yeah,
His brothers
I
was
like
nice.
After 7. Yeah.
But I'll probably have to go with I don't know, probably like Boyz II Men or Jodeci. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Both
so somewhere in
good,
there.
very good. Yeah. 112.
112.
Up there.
Yeah. All right. So last question. Can you guys please predict Eagles starting linebackers and defensive end?
Oh.
All right. So Q, I'll give you a brief breakdown of that. We got Singleton. We have Eric Wilson. We have TJ Edwards. We got Sean Bradley. We got Davion Taylor.
It's too early to tell. I don't know.
All right, so
it's hard for me to until I need to see something. I got to see the scheme. Like it's.
Yeah, we don't know with the coach, right?
Yeah.
So we know with Ghana. So, but I think Alex Singleton is a lock, right? Because of some plays that he made. I think that he's going to be a lock in there. I think that the odd one out is going to be I think the battle is going to be Eric Wilson and TJ Edwards. Davion Taylor is the most talented of the bunch out of all of them. It's just that he has the least amount of football experience. So it's going to be hard for him to crack the starting lineup, but he has the most talent of those guys. So I think that the battle is going to be Eric Wilson and TJ Edwards at the mic.
Okay. What about now? Did you mention? So are we looking at Kerrigan? Right? Are we looking at him as a Sam? Or are we thinking he's?
I'm not even. I hold on. Stop. I'm gonna stop you right now. I hate this new school, and we're talking about DeMarcus Ware was a defensive end. Ryan Kerrigan, I don't care what they label him. He's a defensive end. Tom Ali is a defensive end.
Fair enough.
All of them dudes in New England, they defensive ends. Adalius Thomas, they're not offensive line, they defensive ends.
All right, fair enough.
So starters, I think that TJ and Eric is going to battle it out for the mic. I think that Alex and Davion will be in a battle, but I think Alex has just way more football experience, which is going to put him there. So if I were to guess today, I would say that it would be Alex Singleton and Eric Wilson. That would be my guess. Now, defensive ends, I'm going to say Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. At the linebacker position, the only person that I'm 100% that I don't want to say 100% that I feel has an edge and pretty much got it locked in is Singleton. I don't, without seeing anyone else yet, it's hard for me to really, put my chips behind them. So I'll have a better answer once I see a little bit more in training camp and kind of see how they're moving around. So
yeah, I know TJ's a thumper. TJ is a thumper, traditional. Can take on the fullback, all those things. He just doesn't move well enough.
Right. And that's
and it's going to be very, very hard to play the game like that consistently.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you don't move well. You're limited on special teams. When you in your linebacker, you got to be a core guy on special teams.
Yeah.
So, but if you run 4.8, 4.7, 9, 4.8, it's tough to consistently be out there.
Yeah. It's and judging on what we've seen from the tape of Minnesota and how they play their linebackers, if it's going to be anything like that, you're going to need fast, athletic linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer. Jason, you broke it down great. For me personally, I wanted to see a little bit more before I'll give you a good answer after the first week and a half.
First week and a half. There you go.
I could tell you right then, like after I see them in person, I'll have a better idea.
Cool. Q, is always great talking to you. Thanks for coming out again each and every week with the Fire for the Fans, another episode of the Q&A show podcast in the books. We want to say thank you to Jeff and to Adam and to Hunter and everyone there with Inside the Birds. Thank you for the fans that are making this show a success. Make sure that you submit your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out on Inside the Birds YouTube channel and also Amazon Music. We'll be back again next week with fresh fire. So check us out. Q, give you the last words for the people.
Yeah, as always, it's been great. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for always reaching out and sending us these questions. And it's always fun, man. Jay, I love talking to you, man. As always, have fun, man.
All right, blessings. Time. And for you guys that don't know, I'm in the bathroom. My kids have subjected me to the bathroom. I'm in Florida, and they subjected me to the bathroom with a lot of noise. So this prop in the back, this door, is all I had this week.
Hey, I admire the commitment, man. The show don't stop.
The show don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. All right, Q.
All right, boss.